Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It. Today we're continuing the 10th parak of Maseches Nedarim, Daf Samaches, number 68. Yesterday we talked about this concept that an Arus and a father are made for the Nedarim of the fiance, the engaged daughter together. They have to do it b'shutvus. Talk more about that today. Another source for that, a second source, and some practical ramifications. Let's start Samachem and all at the top. The Beber Shmuel Tana ben Ishla Ishto ben Avla Bito. This is the last pasuk in this parak, and Mato is talking about this. Mikal and Aram Rosh Shavio Baal Mefir Nedarel. Right, the fact that the last pasuk, when it summarizes Hafaras Nadarim, it links the two. Right, and the next pasuk talks about when she's married. So here we're talking about when she's not married. So therefore, it links the two. They have to do it together. So the Gemara says, yesterday's makor, yesterday's source for this halacha, my abil, what does he do with that? Mukim la idach de Rabba, Rabba. We're going to see later on Daf Ayin, Rabba says, Im hayosi al ish, the double language is needed to teach me that even if a woman gets engaged twice, the second engagement is like the first engagement, meaning that if she got engaged and then divorced from the engagement, the rights to be made for an Nedarim go back exclusively to her father until the second engagement when both of them are made for together. Otherwise, we'd have thought, like some other halachas, that once a nisarstav and nisgarsha, she's engaged and she's migureshes, right? Some of the dim don't apply. We talked about ones earlier in Maseches Ksubos, right? If she's nisarstav and nisgarsha, there's a lot of opinions that say that there's no more din of a nara, the mother, the money for the knas for ones. If you're ma'anis, a woman, you rape a woman, so the knas usually goes to the father, unless she's in this arsa, in this garsha. Then, according to some opinions, I think we possibly that would actually go to her after the gerushin, even if she's still a nara, she's not a bulgaris. So that's what the teaching is for. Urabba, right? He learns hayosi al ishas for that teaching. Haytan de Shmuel, my avilay. What does he do, right? What does he do with Tana de Shmuel? Obviously, he learns from the first source. He can't learn from the first source. So what does he do with Tana de Shmuel? Right? According to Rabbah, he says Hayosiya is teaching me. He's not teaching me the shutfus, right? So obviously he's going to learn the shutfus from the first makor on the Afsamach Zayin we learned yesterday. So what does he do with Tanya de Shmuel ben Ab ben Ishta Ishta ben Av Labito? So he uses it for to tell you that a husband. We're going to see there's only certain nedarim that a husband can make for his wife. Inu nefesh, something which causes pain to the woman. She takes nether not to eat certain types of meat. It's painful to the woman. And also there's another category of beina lebeina. Right. So we learn from this second pasuk ben Ishta Ishta ben Av Labito that ben Ishla Ishto is to tell me that even dvarim shebeino lebeina, meaning things if she answers tashma shamita, right, to be together, or foreplay or something like that. So that's something between the two, so he can be made for those things also. Iboilhu. The Gemara has a question. Bal Mega's guy is a miklish kolish. It's a very lumdish shaila, very interesting shaila that the Gemara asks. The Gemara says we have a father, an arus, right, a fiance. The Baal, the arus, and the father are made for b'shutfus. They're in all the together. How does it work? What's the structure? How does it work? What are the mechanics of it working? Is it megas gaius that each of them they share a shutfus? Each owns 50%, right? So therefore, we'll see in a second. Each has the power to annul half the nether. Or the pshat that they annul the nether together. The shutfus is like they both share the same 100%. It's not each own 50%. They share together 100%. What's an afkamina? Hey, can be boilan. What's the scenario where it would have an afkamina? I can go to Nadra Mitrain Zayson. She took a nether not to eat two olives. Two olives. She loves olives. This woman. She can't get enough. She has a problem eating too many olives here in Israel. Women like people like olives. As an American, I don't really understand this. I don't find olives too delicious. Olives are meant for olive oil. I mean, that's really what they're meant for. She takes a nether not to eat two olives. Shama Aras v'heferla. The Aras did his part. He annulled the nether. Achaltun, Tanun, and she ate both the zaysim. Yeah, I mean, Mega's guy is you say each one has the ability to cancel out 50%. So the husband cancel out his 50%, which is one of the olives, right? Lakia, she gets malchus for the other kazayas because kazayas is a shir achila, and it's a neder on a kazayas, right? You get malchus for that because, right? Lo yachal dvarim, not allowed to be machal your dvarim. Now there is an obvious question. The obvious question is her neder was two kazayas, so one kazayas is called chatzi shir, right? It's not that her neder was I'm not going to eat, right? Her neder was I'm not going to eat two olives. Seemingly, that's what she said. So she said two olives, and she only eats one olive. That's the chatzi shir. So how can she get malchus? We know you don't get malchus for a chatzi shir. That is a question I'm going to leave you with. If you want to answer that question, you have to stay tuned for Ian Ben C on the special 8 to 10 minute Ian shir I give separately after this shir. So if you hold Mega's guy is should get malchus for the father's portions. Yeah, I mean a mikdash college. If you say no, that the way the shutfas works, this partnership works between the father and the soon-to-be husbands. They own 100% together, so therefore that would basically be chassid share. They weaken, right? One person, the husband, the baal, he annuls the neder, so he weakens the neder to be sort of like a chassid share. Isur ba'alma, it's just an isur ba'alma. Chassid share is machlokas. Rabbi Yochanan, Rish Lakish, and Yuma on Daf Ayin Gimel and Ayin Dalet over there. Rabbi Yochanan holds doraisa, but you still don't get malchus. Rabbi Rish Lakish has a rabbanon, but the point is you don't get malchus. What's the halacha? Tashma. We're going to bring a long brisa. Eventually, at the end of the brisa, we're going to see the brisa extends Daf Samach Ted 69. We'll get to the end just to finish the sugya. Tashma. Ema Sai Amru. Mesa Bal Nisrokin Roshus La'av. This is quoting a brisa or a mishnah later on. We're going to talk about this. What if, she's engaged and one of either the husband or the father dies? So we're going to talk about scenarios over here. A lot of different scenarios. Mesa Bal. They said if the husband dies and the father gets exclusive rights to be made for the Nedarim. What is the case? She makes a neder, obviously, when she's still engaged, the husband, and the husband, he didn't hear about the neder. Or even if he heard about it, he was silent. Or he heard about it, he was made for the neder. Right? He died that day, right? If he shama v'shasak, right? He heard and he was quiet. If he would have died a day later, that's like a kiyum, right? If you wait 24 hours and then you don't annul the neder, that's like your makayim. But he died that day, and he was shosek that day. That's what we taught. We're going to learn a mishnah later on. If the husband dies, so the father gets exclusive rights, right? He gets that other half that the husband doesn't have anymore because he died. Aval, top of Samachanamai Bezim, Shama Vikiyim, if the husband, before he died, he affirmed the neder, Oshama Vashasak, Omeis Biyom Shal Akarav, or even if he heard and was silent, but he died 24 hours later, because it's like the Baal's Makayim already, so therefore the father doesn't have the right to just made for by himself. Shama Avia, the Brisa continues, let's say the father heard, Behafer law, and he was made for the neder. Velohispik Baal Shmoa, Ad Shemesa Av. Now, who's dying? The father's dying over here. In this case, the husband didn't even hear about it. Right? Because the Baal didn't hear about it. If he would have heard about it, right? So then the father died. So then the Baal would have exclusive rights. But here, the husband didn't even hear about it. So therefore, he can't. It's not in his reshus, the neder, because he didn't hear about it yet. So therefore, he can't get the portion of the father. Shama Baila, another case. Shama Baila of Heferlah. The husband did hear about it, and he was made for the neder. And here it's the opposite case. The husband's dying, but the father didn't even hear about it. This is a little different, right? Because the father always had the rights to be made for a nedarim before she got engaged. So therefore, even if the husband didn't hear about it, this is a difference between the husband and the father dying. If the husband didn't hear about it, and the father dies, he doesn't get the rights of the father because he never had private ownership. But the father had private ownership, and he maintains that private ownership. He just has to join with the husband when she gets engaged. So therefore, if she gets engaged and the husband died without hearing about it, it goes back to the father exclusively. Shema Baila Behaferla. The Brisa continues with some more cases. The husband heard about it, he annulled it. And the father didn't hear about it. This is basically the repetition of what we're saying over here, is that, right, the husband doesn't help, even if he was made for the neder, right? The fact that the father didn't hear about it, so it didn't go into the rishus of the father. If the father would have heard about it and then died, so then it went into the rishus of the father, so the husband could be morish it, could inherit it from the father, but he didn't hear about it. So the Baal needs the father, and he doesn't have the father. Top of Samach Tem and Aleph. Shama Avia v'Heferlah. Her father heard it and was made. Again, this is really a repetition of what we're saying before. The Baal didn't get a chance to hear it until he died. He died. This is just a repetition, basically explaining the other cases. Basically, Nisrok and Rishos La'ab, because the father always had the rights to the neder. He just has to add on the husband. The husband didn't hear about it, so it goes back to the father. Amar of Nassan said, Hein Hein Divrei Beit Shammai. The aforementioned teaching is the opinion of Beit Shammai. Beis Hillel Omrim Ein Yachal Hafer. Beis Hillel says in this last case, right? The last case, the Baal, the father can't be mefer, right? What was the last case? The father heard and he was mefer, and the husband didn't even hear about it, right? So Shmamina, the Beit Shammai, Megas Gag is the Beis Hillel Miklish Kolish. Shmamina. Where I proves from this Machlokis, Beit Shammai, Beis Hillel, they argue about this very point, Beit Shammai, Beis Hillel. According to Beit Shammai, right, Megas Gaias, meaning each the father and the husband, the Baal, the Orus, have the ability to do half of it. They each own 50%. So therefore, the father annulled the neder, and the husband died. So the husband never even heard about it. So it goes back. That's fine. But according to Beis Hillel, Miklish Kolish, he learns that since when the father annulled the neder, he's doing it, and the husband was alive at that time, right? When he annulled the neder. So therefore, he's doing it b'shutfus. He's doing it 100% shutfus. They're sharing the 100%. So he's not being made for half the neder. If he's being made for half the neder, then the Baal dies. So he gets the other half. Nisrok nushos la'av. But if Miklish Kolish, right, which is Beis Hillel's shita, right, Beis Hillel holds that when I'm doing the father's doing the hafara together with the husband, right, he's doing a chatzi shir of hafara. So therefore, the Baal dies, but you can't go back to the rishus of the father because it was the hafara that was done with the husband is a different hafara than the father by himself, right? It's hafara b'shutfus. It's a chatzi shir of hafara b'shutfus. So therefore, even though the husband dies, didn't even hear about it, and normally we'd say nisrok rishus la'ab. That's seemingly the halacha, but you can't equate the two because it was a hafara done with in the realm of shutfus of the husband. And now, what are you going to say? So that was a partial hafara. And then now it's Nisrok Shus La'av, but you already have this hafara that was done with the husband, so therefore you can't compare the two, and therefore Ein Yachal HaHafer, because since he started to be Mefer with the Baal, so that and they weakened it together, did a Chatzi share, so therefore we don't see Nisrok Shus La'av in that case, and that's why we Machlos B'Sham Beis Hillel, and we pass him like Beis Hillel usually. So therefore, Miklish Kolish is the halacha. And back to the original case where we talked about Shik Neder from 2 olives, right? Since we hold like Beis Hillel, Miklish Kolish. So therefore, if she ate one of the kazesim, if one of them was mefer, the other wasn't mefer, she would not get malchus. She would only violate the chatzi shir. And according to Rabbi Yochanan, we pass like be aser midaraisa, but not get malchus because you don't get malchus on a chatzi shir. Hope you enjoyed today's shir. Stay tuned for Enoch Ben Sion, where I try to answer the obvious question, right? 2 kazesim. Even if you hold megas guys, it should be a chatzi shir. Why is it not a chatzi shir? Stay tuned. Enoch Ben Sion coming up.